Okay, we are going to call this regular city council meeting to order. Today is Monday, June 13th, 2022, and it is just after 6:30. So first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Somebody please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Takes us to the consent agenda under item 1A. That's to consider approving the minutes of the regular city council meeting held May 16th, 2022. Anybody have any questions or concerns about those minutes? Is there a motion to approve item 1A?
I make a motion to approve item 1A.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, to approve 1A. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 2, discussion and possible action regarding approval of bid award for the Johnson Drive ground storage tank rehabilitation project to D&M Tank LLC as recommended by Walker Partners.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mr. City Manager. We received bids for the Johnson Drive ground storage tank rehabilitation project on June the 2nd. We received 9 bids. The time the of bidding, the EOPC was about $345,000, and the low bid with the ad alternate came in at $272,000. So we're recommending award of that bid to D&M Tanks. They have done work for the city before, and they actually did the work at the Johnson Drive underground storage tank. They did the rehabilitation of that facility, so they're familiar with the site and familiar with working with the city of McGregor.
Tell us what this is going to accomplish. What are we doing with this? What is this?
So every year the city goes out and has evaluations done on other water facilities, including the ground storage tanks, and it was recommended that the tank be recoated. The interior coat is starting to show signs of fatigue. There's some other items that need to be performed on the tank. The additive alternate that's being recommended is the replacement of some pipe on the exterior of the tank. I believe it's PVC pipe, and so we're recommending to replace it with a better, more durable material that's more suitable for being exposed to the air and the natural surroundings. So it's pretty much maintenance work, but it's needed per the reports from, I think, is it Texas Tank is who does the reports for you guys? Does the evaluations and reports?
We were required to inspect them every year.
You are, yes, that's correct.
Is this the same company that repaired the big leak in the ground storage tank?
It is, yes.
That was a big deal.
And how are we paying for this?
Budgeted, I guess.
We budgeted $237,000 for this project already in this year's budget. We had also included $30,000 for the, I'll get it right in there, $37,230. So the other was for the ground storage, which we completed last budget year after we had adopted the budget. So we have 267. So we're about 5,000 shy.
Okay.
You gonna cover it?
You betcha. We'll make adjustments somewhere else to make sure that we come in.
Okay. And timing, what do you expect?
So we plan on getting started as soon as possible. I believe DM Tank was ready to go. There were a couple of contractors that were asking to delay the beginning of the project, but I believe DM Tank was one that was ready to go, and we expect it to be about 2 to 2.5 months worth of construction time.
And is it going to be during the remaining summer months or into the fall?
It will be, yes. We've discussed that with city staff, and they felt comfortable that they could maintain the operation with it down.
maintain the operation, meaning there will be no noticeable loss of water pressure, cutoffs, things like
Correct.
that?
Correct.
Anybody else have any questions? Then with that, is there a motion on item number 2?
Move we award the bid for the ground storage tank rehab to G&M Tank.
Second.
There's a motion, a second on item 2. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Item 3, receive presentation from Tyler Technologies regarding new software. Are you with Tyler Software? Or Tyler Technologies?
I'm letting them come here. I'm letting him. Council, Mayor. Yes, we have a presentation from Tyler Technologies regarding new software. If you remember, a couple of months ago, we talked about CopSync. Well, this is their competition, and we already have Tyler, some of the technology, but this is an update. It'll help us on our reporting to Austin and let the officers do their reports. So I have Madonna Allen out of the great city of Lubbock down here to give a presentation on the Tyler Technology Program.
Okay, great.
So we're going to make this kind of a short one. The actual full presentation is about 45 minutes. As Chief said, they already use our software. They're already using our dispatch software. So all this does is it coincides with it. It's basically made for community and officer safety. There's a lot of times when I will come over and dispatch gets tied up. That's not just the scenario just here, that's everywhere. Dispatchers may be on more than one call, and officers are out on the field waiting to either run NCIC, they're either waiting to get an address or get assigned to a call. This is going to eliminate that, and all it does is they're able to do it from their MDT, and once it's done from the MDT, it goes across the board. So all the officers, including the dispatchers, are able to see each other on the maps. They're able to see any updates, any notes that are added from that particular call sheets. Officers can see if it was, for example, an armed robbery and the dispatcher's tied up on getting other information from another caller, they're able to automatically assign themselves. And so this is just a more prompt way to approach any situation when it comes to the dispatcher side. And like I said, they're going to get what I quoted are for MDTs and for iPads, but if we watch the whole presentation, it would be literally like 45 minutes. So unless you guys want to spend 45 minutes this evening, we can watch the entire thing. So I kind of we're going to start it on this presentation where this is the MDT side of it, but it's going to show you the key points of exactly what it does. Our demonstration guy could not be here. There's only one of us and we cover 13 states, so unfortunately he wasn't able to make it, but he has this webinar that we did create for purposes like this. So
you a active call, and this is a call that I have been assigned to. This screen, I'm Officer 4566. And so as soon as I am assigned a call by dispatch, this screen will automatically pop up in MobileCAD. And it can also be set to give you a audible alert too as well. What you'll see here is you'll see what type of call it is and the location. You'll be able to see the landmark. So like I say, it's a Walmart or Dollar General. Lord knows we have lots of those. Any address alerts, the caller name, and any name alerts. And just like with the iPad, to see address history, instead of saying, hey, dispatch, what's the history on this location? I can hit address history, and that's going to pull up all the prior calls for service at that location. If I say, hey, what's the history on Susanna Smith? Hasn't she called 911 like 50 times in the last month? I can again click name history and bring that up really quickly and see all the calls for service that she has been involved in and get that right from here. The same thing as far as going en route and on scene. I can do that again from my MDT with this mobile CAD version. And you'll notice here how it's set up. I have these boxes on the bottom, and this is a touchscreen based. This is meant to be able to rest your hand on the laptop and use your pointer finger to push those buttons. The ones on the right, the CAD, statuses, call views, etc., that's meant to be able to kind of wrap your fingers around the laptop and use your thumb to push those. So try to be ergonomic, again, to make it as easy and accessible and as safe as possible, because there's a good chance you're probably going to be driving while you are responding to these calls. So on the bottom here, just like with the iPad, I hit that route button. That now makes me be en route, and it timestamps it for me. And then I can hit arrive, and now it has me on scene. So again, I can do that without having to tie up radio traffic. You know, you got a lot of stuff going on. You can do that without having to tie up the radio and show that you are en route and on scene. You'll see here the notes here, and again, these are notes from the most recent on top with the older ones on the bottom. To enter a note, all I have to do is type it in. We'll do the same thing we did on the last one. Screen is clear, and I hit enter, and it puts that in there and lets dispatch know that I entered that note, and I can put those notes in straight from this line right here. I don't have to click add note, and there's an add note down here. I can just hit the enter button to do that. One really cool function is the citation button. So if you ran someone on NCIC and you got a vehicle in the call notes, if you have our Brazos solution on your mobile device, you hit that citation button, it actually pushes that information into and opens up the Brazos webpage and pushes that information over for you to pick and choose and select to add to that citation. What it pushes over is the location, the caller, the vehicle, occupants, and subjects. If those have been added to the actual call for service, it'll push those over automatically, and you can select those and push those really quickly into your Brazos citation. The add notes, we discussed that. Again, really you can just hit enter for that one. And the same thing with changing location. On the iPad, you can change location within mobile CAD. And again, we'll say we're across the street with witnesses. Type that in really quickly, and we hit change location button. And what that does, again, you'll see location change, and lets dispatch and everyone know that you are across the street with witnesses. And then again, when you are done interviewing witnesses and come back to the original location, just go in here, hit space, enter, and it puts you back on the space change location, puts you back on the actual scene there as well. Just like with the iPad, you can do a self-welfare check. So you have the availability instead of, if dispatch says, are you 10-4, you can tell them you're 10-4 and they can do it, or you might click that yourself and again, clear off that welfare check, turn me back green, and restart that timer. On the bottom right, you'll see case number, so you have the availability, just like the iPad, to pull that case number from dispatch without having to even ask them. And we've made it so that it will only draw one case number. So dispatch can assign as many case numbers as needed to a case. So we have it on here where you can only get one case number so that you don't accidentally hit it twice and accidentally draw two case numbers. And then lastly, right here, we have the clear. So this is when you're done with the call. You can clear yourself, and you will have the clear options just like dispatch would, and you can clear yourself from that call and be back 10-8. And as you'll see, once you go 10-8, that call screen is blank. And again, if you are assigned a call or dispatched to a call or self-initiate, it will automatically come back to this screen and have an audible tone if you have that setting for it. So we talk about statuses. So let's top left. Again, just like the iPad app, you can put yourself in service and out of service. Again, not having to bother dispatch. They don't have to take you in your tour of duty. You can do that from here and begin your tour of duty. You have it available here, again, to put in a location. Let's say that you're getting out with an investigation and say, hey, 123 Main Street, I'm out for, we're just going to do, there's a barking dog here. So instead of tying up radio traffic, I can do that officer-initiated call, and I create that officer-initiated call. You'll see it automatically has me as a ride, brings me back to that screen, and I can do that self-initiation from here. Again, same kind of transport, so I can do, again, the transports in custody or non-custody, opposite sex or same sex or juvenile. Put my mileage in, my description, you know, the one white male, and then destination to the hospital. And what that does is update everyone. We'll put mileage of 1. Put the hospital. I'll start my, oops, got in transport. Let's do start transport. Non-custody. What that does, again, shows that location change, and that will show in dispatch as well. And then anybody in mobile CAD will be able to see that you are on a transport at the time. And then when I come back here, it'll have in transport, put my mileage in, and then I can end that transport and be done with that and back on the call. The same thing that you saw on the iPad with being out of your vehicle, you have the same thing here. So I can be out of my vehicle and just put in the same documentation. So if I'm out on a meal break, I can put, you know, at Burger King, hit meal, it's going to show me at Burger King. Or I can just free text anything in there about where I'm at when I'm out of the vehicle so that dispatch knows I'm busy and officers in the field know you're busy as well. Or you can also do the same thing with investigation or out maybe for Superior Court or for
Again, it's a very long webinar because it goes into details exactly of what MobileCAD does, but this is just a high-end overview of what the PD will be able to do if they obtain the mobiles for their MDTs or their iPads.
Now, like earlier, you know, where it's showing on the screen, you know, past histories or something, instead of our guys calling in to dispatch, can you give me a history on that? Then they got to log in and pull it up on their computer. On this, they'll be able to hit that button, and it'll pull up all the calls to that address or that person. It'll pull up all the calls for that person every time that they've had to deal with them. We got Jason Holland, our officer here. He, come on up, Jason. If y'all have some questions for him, he's worked with CopSync, which is really similar to this. Of course, this is cheaper than CopSync, and we're, like I say, we've already integrated into the Tyler reporting system. Y'all have any questions? Or?
So is this a replacement for CopSync?
It's their counterpart to it, sir. Basically, it has all the benefits of CopSync without the cost that we would have to do up front in order to obtain CopSync. Has all the exact same features and everything, which a lot of it covers officer safety and officer awareness while we're on the streets.
Do we have anything like this now, or is this like an add-on to what we already have?
It's an add-on to what we already have. We do not have these capabilities right now, sir.
So most of what we're seeing on the screen then is provided by dispatch. And literally calling in and getting radio type information rather than it coming up on the computer is?
Right now, everything is relayed through dispatch to us. We see minimal stuff on our current MBT systems. One of the problems with that is once an officer keys up out on the street, if fire or EMS happens to be talking to dispatch or if dispatch is trying to send them to a location, as soon as we key up, we talk over everybody else that's trying to talk to them.
I got you.
So if dispatch is on with 911 and they're trying to send us something, through this system, they can dispatch us electronically without having to tie up the radio, or they can also get EMS or fire en route to the same scene.
So all this information then is not only in the squad cars, but it's also back at the police department as well. They have the ability to...
Yes, sir. Everything we do on our MBTs will be real time for dispatchers to see. So if we log out on the scene, it comes up immediately on their screen to see where we're at and what we're doing. It also has a mapping feature which also allows dispatch to see where the officers are at any time. Anybody that's logged onto the system can see where the officers are, what their time is, estimated time is. So if she's on with 911 with somebody that's injured or somebody that's being held against their will, and they're on the phone able to talk to her, she can let them know, hey, you know, they're 2 blocks away, they're coming up now, they're right outside your door, things like that. And she can relay that information to us without having to tell the caller to hold on while she gets on the radio to talk to us, because it can all be sent through digitally.
And do we have, I saw the reference, I heard the reference about iPads. Do we have iPads or PCs, laptops? What do we have that we're using right now?
Right now, we have MDT laptops within some of the patrol cars, but we are short some. And to fill the gaps, we're looking at going to iPad because it's more updated, plus it has additional features in using the iPad. So as we filter out the old MDTs, we're gonna be replacing them with the iPads, because one of the benefits of the iPads is if we're on an assault, a sexual assault, a hit and run, a burglary, anything, we can snap pictures with the iPad and it'll link it directly to the case or the incident report that we're gonna be creating based off of this. Instead of now, we're having to go back, take cameras, take the SIM card, give it to Kim. She's gonna have to upload them into the reports. When she gets time, if it's over the weekend, they're not getting loaded up until the following workday.
And will this be in all of the squad cars, or do you take the iPad from car to car? How do you handle that?
No, sir, to be within every car, and each officer will sign for their own unit. Like now, we have MDTs in our assigned patrol cars, and the officer's assigned and responsible for that piece of equipment.
And cost? What's the cost of this, and where's that?
Of the program itself,
Yeah, just really just everything that we're doing here.
See, yeah, we're working on that, Mayor, and where Cop Sync, we're in the RMS system and all that. They wanted to charge us $10,000 to transfer things over from our current system to the Cop Sync program, and some other charge $10,000 to move all that over.
for all the information to be moved over to our current system, from our current system to CopSync is just an additional $10,000, just to move the information that we already have. Through CopSync, their quote was $84,000, and another competitor was eForce, and they quoted us at $97,000. I think with this system, we're right at 41.2.
Okay. And will there be a transfer cost also?
No, there will not be a transfer because this is part of the Tyler Public Safety.
I see, okay.
Yeah, and it'll also help Kim with doing her CJIS reporting to Austin that our old system doesn't do right now.
It'll be in NIBRS compliance and CJIS compliance. Our reporting system from sex offenders, our CJIS audits, this will all change. I'm sorry. With this system, it will also, I do our biannuals. Every 2 years, we have a CJIS audit. We also have a NIBRS audit, and this does our crime report, or I do our crime reporting. Right now, I'm doing our crime reporting manually. I go in and I pull everything and I count crimes and everything. This is gonna help me to do everything digitally through the system, and it also will help me with sex offenders reporting. Also, the mapping system on this, we will be able to map, we're not only where our officers are, we'll be able to do a proximity alert. And like if the street departments are closing off streets for repairs, we can do a proximity and say this streets are closed, this is closed, and we can notify police, fire, and EMS, and it'll be on everybody's mapping. So there's a lot of things that will tie in, you know, for crime reporting, to officer safety, to dispatch, to city. You know, it'll free up a lot of, you know, in radio.
With this system also now, the current e-ticket writers that we are using for citations and warnings through Brazos, it's linked, but the e-ticket writers that we have also talks with RMS, so when we scan a vehicle or a license, it automatically puts all that information into our system without us having to go back, go to our desktops, put all the information in, then we create a report, then we have to regenerate all that information. So right now, every step that we do in the process, we're having to regenerate the same information to go to each report, where this system, all the way from the ticket writers to arrest reports, it'll ought to be, all the information will talk to each other.
Okay, and how long, what's the timing of getting all this in place?
Is that to get it deployed? Is that, what was the question? I'm sorry.
The timing of getting this in use?
We typically have like a 6-month backlog, so probably by the end of the year, the sooner, of course, the better, but, we don't usually go more than 6 months. The agency's already set up with, OpenFox, and so a big part of that is having to get it approved through the state, so there are some obstacles that prolong that process, but since, the PD is already ahead on some of that, it won't take as long, and so we're looking at possibly 6 months, no more than 6 months.
So Chief, what are you asking from us tonight? What do you want us to do?
Well, what I'm asking for is get approval to let us work on this. We got a couple other deals coming in, possibly some people that want to step in and help fund it.
I don't understand. When you say people, you mean like,
Some citizens
Really?
want to step in and help fund this program.
oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so do you need any formal action from us tonight?
The agenda does not indicate that, so it's tonight for informational purposes.
Information and to get the council's blessing.
Yeah.
Of working on it.
Yeah. Council, do you have any other questions? I mean, it appears that to go forward would be the thing to do, but y'all certainly ask any questions that you might have that haven't been answered.
I was just wondering right now on the computers y'all have, is there something that might not transfer to the iPad if we went to iPads? Or, I mean, I was just wondering if we're gonna go with Encode and use iPads, is there programs right now that we're running on the laptops that might not transfer over to an iPad?
We can run iPads and the MDTs at the same time in different medium, right? They're compatible.
Yes, they're compatible and they're also transferable. So let's say those MDTs are out of commission and they decide to purchase an iPad instead of the MDT, those licenses are transferable. They do use a different license, but we wouldn't recharge a whole new license fee for it because they've already purchased the initial roadcap license.
Okay, so Encode wouldn't charge us for that?
No, no.
Okay. And is there maybe a neighboring city like that we might have called to see if they're using Encode, or is there somebody close to us that has used this program that maybe we've checked in with to see how it's going?
I'm not sure if they have, but we have Belby that just went live on the iPads.
Okay.
For MobileCAD, we have Woodway that also uses them. Those are the two I can think that are kind of close by. And then, of course, Beverly Hills, it's not live yet, but they're another one in the area. But Belby and Woodway are two of our, could be two references.
Yeah, Chief, that's a good idea. We might check with those other
Mhm.
neighboring cities and see how they like it. Yeah.
And I know that IT that you guys currently have is also IT for Belmy, so they're both very aware, the IT company is very aware of how the setup goes. And any kind of issue that they had or anything, IT would be another good contact because they work for the same company.
And then are y'all providing the iPad, or that would be the city purchasing the iPads, correct? And then you're just putting the software on the iPad?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Anybody else? Okay, well, Chief, it sounds like you have tacit approval to continue the process and see where this lands.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks to everybody for the presentation.
Item 4 is discussion and possible action regarding approval of resolution R-8-2022, a resolution approving selection of engineering service providers to complete project implementation for the American Rescue Plan Act. It's the ARP Act
funding administered by the U.S. Department of the Treasury and other federal or state agency.
Yes, we've did Resolution R-822 for the ARPA grant. We sent out a request for engineering services. Our only response was Walker Partners, and so we're asking that Walker Partners be our engineers for the ARPA projects.
And we haven't determined what those projects are yet, but that would be the engineering company who's going to
To oversee it, yes, sir.
Actually, you've already picked those projects. They're the projects that were laid out, but, by Chad and Brian in April, I believe. And that will be the projects going forward that'll get the first funding. But you have to have an engineer seal on them. There won't be a lot to it, but
This is our COVID money, right?
correct.
And did the group meet or committee?
Yes, sir.
This was, who all was on that committee?
Us two, and Renee, were you on that? Yeah, you were. Yeah, us three. When was that? April?
April.
And we discussed the street project, the unfunded street projects, fully funding the street projects.
Get through those first. If you got some money left over, we can move forward.
Yeah.
And then also the pay adjustment that's on here for tonight.
Okay, so we just need to approve Walker as our engineer for that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a motion by resolution number?
I make a motion to approve resolution R-8/2022.
There's a motion and a second under item 4. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion carries. To 5 is discussion and possible action regarding approval of resolution R-9-2022, a resolution approving Texas Department of Transportation as the City of McGregor's agent for the McGregor Executive Airport Master Plan and utilizing the American Rescue Plan Act. Barry, good evening.
How are y'all, Mayor, Council? This is for, it's a capital improvement project for the airport. It's to renew our master plan, which our current plan expired in 2020. And it's would normally be a 90-10 grant, but the 10% that the city would be responsible for, the American Rescue Plan Act is going to take care of that, so it's actually costing us $0.
And give us an overview real quick what that plan is.
It will.
What do you have in mind?
It will determine the next 20 years of what should be done at the airport, which direction they should go as far as hangars, what land should be designated for, business or whatever.
And a new terminal probably.
Yeah, that's probably another thing that'll, so the old master plan showed new entrances and all that, but TxDOT recently, with all their changes, they're probably not gonna give another entrance off 84. So we relocate some roads and stuff, and depending on water and sewer, extend some taxiways for private hangars, cause we're out of land for private hangars without extending taxiways and water and sewer. It's just basically what it should look like in 20 years. It'll give this 5 years, this 10 years, this is where you should be at 15 years.
And you have to do it or they won't give you any money.
Basically, yeah.
So it looks like you're asking for 25,000 of ARPA funding
Uh,
instead of 10%
no.
from the city of McGregor.
We would be, it's 250,000, which they're gonna, FAA pays 90. We would normally be responsible for the 10%, but that 10% is gonna be covered by the American Rescue Plan Act, so it's actually costing the city zero.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is costing us $25,000
Of the
out
grant,
of the
of the
money.
grant funding?
Which is, it's totally separate from this,
Not the same money.
not the
Oh, it's
same
not the
money.
same
No,
money.
this is all
Oh.
airport.
They got their own ARPA money.
Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
Oh, wow.
Nice. How much did y'all get?
$25,000.
Okay.
But we've got other things, I mean, they've had several coronavirus. Carissa CARES, which we've gotten money over the last 2 or 3 years.
20%.
Yeah.
Just keep printing money.
Okay. Well, that answers my question right there.
Okay, seems pretty simple then. Is there a motion by resolution number under item 5?
Second.
There's a motion and a second on item 5. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To 6, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of ordinance O-10-2022, an ordinance of the city of McGregor, Texas, establishing a speed limit along a portion of State Highway 317 within the city limits of the city of McGregor and providing for penalties. Chad?
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor, Council. We're here again. So we have already passed an ordinance reducing the speed limit to 55. We submitted our plans to TxDOT to get their blessing, which we did. After the past ordinance, they informed us that we could not transition from 55, which is where we place the speed limit, to 75, so it can be no greater than 15 miles an hour. So the compromise was to go to 60, so 60 to 75. So what we're gonna do, where it transitions as you leave town to 60, we're gonna leave it at 60 all the way through till you get to right at the edge of right at the city limits. Then it will transition back to 75.
And so coming the other way, I guess just the opposite, huh?
Yes,
So you right at the
it'll
edge
it'll
where you hit the
reduce
city.
right about 1,000 feet north of Mother Neff Parkway.
Okay. It'll go from 75 to 60. at
To
that
60,
point.
yeah, that's correct.
But we already passed an ordinance for it to go to 55, or we just had discussion?
No, we
No, we
did.
We did pass it to be 55, but
So
we
would
could
this be
not
amended?
transition from 55 to 75. They're not gonna allow that.
Yeah, yeah, so everybody can see the ordinance as drafted there. Okay, so we're gonna change from 55 to 60 by ordinance O-10-22. Is there a motion under item 6 by ordinance number?
I move that we accept ordinance 0-10-2022.
There's a motion second under item 6. Any other questions or comments?
I have one question.
Yeah, you bet.
Not about, last year, we approved a speed limit change out here on 84, right there at, I believe it was gonna start at Macedo Towing.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea when that was gonna happen? 'Cause,
I'll-
every day I drive through there, I was like, it's still the same speed limit.
They told us we had to, didn't we?
Yeah.
If they don't execute, that means they're not ready to execute. That's
Oh.
just what we're approving what they want to do.
Okay.
Make the signs and install them.
So we give them approval, and then it's because it's their highway, they still do what they want when they want.
You get a little bit of say, not much.
Well,
But that's a good question. I've been looking for the same
yeah,
thing.
at least there's an explanation for it, too.
I just don't wanna get caught off guard.
Right.
But that may be what we're planning.
Thanks.
All right, anybody else under item 6? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries to 7.
Thank you.
discussion and possible action regarding the sale of property being all of Lot 2, Block 2 of the J.H. Hall addition. The City of McGregor, McLennan County, Texas, located on North 3rd Street, which was deeded by McLennan County to the City of McGregor.
Council, my apologies for not having something to put up on the board. Please go to the next to the last page on the insert in your packet. That's the survey. Lot 2 was deeded to us by the county last year. It has an encroachment, or it is encroached upon by Lot 1, and it is also encroached upon and/or encroaches Lot 3. Lot 3 and 4, as I understand it, are owned by Avalez, and he plans on buying this. It's why we listed it. We can now list property for 30 days, and then he was the only one that put in a bid for it, or an offer for it. Which is nice to be able to have that ability now, Jimmy. I just might mention that now, that we can now list real estate and sell it like normal people. Anyway,
Without having to bid it out.
yeah, he plans on going in and cleaning this up, replatting, and either building a house on that in the corner, or taking part of Lot 3 and all of Lot 2 and building a house there. So pretty good deal. We get to sell a piece of property that was given to us, and that doesn't happen very often, but gets it back on the tax rolls with a home built on it.
Kevin, is it one of those properties?
No, it may be, I don't know. I'd have to go crazy looking at it. They've got a deal here to look at their country. And that's it.
What'd we sell it for?
10 grand.
Which lot again did we sell? Block
2, I believe.
2 of 2.
2 of
Okay.
2. It's kind of a mess, actually. It's the way it is, he couldn't build what he's trying to build, then he'll just be able to build a little more.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion under item 7 by reference to the sale of property at the location?
I make a motion for the sale of property being all of Lot 2, Block 2 of the J.H. Hall addition.
There is a motion second under item 7. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 8, discussion and possible action regarding approval to authorize city manager to abandon city right-of-way of 8th Street, that is northeast 1st Street, and retaining utility easements. Looks like we're passing something out. Take a
Yes, we did. This is the same picture. I had it downloaded onto a thumb drive, and I couldn't find it, and I, for whatever reason, couldn't drop it down onto a thumb drive now that she can display it. But you've seen this before. This is the Boney property, the manufacturing facility out at 84 and Garfield. The red you can see is what's being sold to the company. The company needs to maintain access to the building behind, which is Rick's building. He's not going anywhere. They plan on tearing everything down and building a very nice apartment complex. Now, that's a separate issue. It's going through zoning as we speak. We have since determined that we actually have a water line and there is a gas line in this easement, so we have to maintain the easements for utilities on the entire width. That works out just fine. They're not really wanting to build over it. They want to use it for, or at least their half, if that's how it turns out, for fire access in and out, and having a second entrance in and out for fire access, as well as the residents. They do understand they have to do a traffic impact analysis out on 84 and Garfield for that intersection. We don't need this right of way except for the utilities. I don't have any problem closing it. We will have to offer the south half to the railroad. I'm pretty sure that the railroad is going to decline because they don't need it. They particularly don't need it if it's got a gas line in it that interrupts anything they might do. They're actually in a posture to sell some of this property rather than buy it. In fact, this is UP, this is not BNSF. Well, actually, BNSF leases a tract, but UP owns this, and I don't know that they're doing anything with it. But we bought the rest of that railroad right away that goes out to Cotton Belt Parkway from UP when we bought it. If they decline it, we would probably need to offer it to Rick, but he is working with the people that are purchasing the main property and may choose to let them provide him a permanent driveway with permanent access that would also be the fire line. So there's a lot of details that need to be worked out. What I'm looking for is your approval to continue going through with this with the plan to abandon the right of way and make all the necessary transactions. You'll have to approve the final transaction at some point, but I just need to make you understand that this is going forward, and they will be coming forward with other proposals on that property.
So which one is the easement, Kevin? The one, but the strip of land between the yellow and the green?
Both sides of the yellow.
Both sides of the yellow.
Yeah, it's a 50-foot right of way, and that's 25 foot each side. And this is just a close representation.
Okay.
We do have a survey of it from their surveyor, who is a very good surveyor, and we have had that survey verified by the Walker Partner surveyor, who does all our surveying work.
So what does the yellow represent?
Just the center line.
Okay. So there's not some form of division there between one side and the other?
No. The gas line actually runs more or less in the south part, and the water line that we have more or less runs in the north part. Now, I say more or less, they not just exactly perfect, but we'll have to maintain all of that, obviously. Very interesting, messed up area and piece of property.
This property, this go all the way to what's that there, where they clean it up there right there by,
No, that's on the other side of the tracks, and that's the property that used to be owned by Paparolo's folks. They own that piece of property. As you go under, it's right up on the right-hand side. And I've noticed they're cleaning that up.
Yeah,
Do they have a permit to do anything there? We probably ought to check on them. They have talked to me about building a little subdivision back in there. But they have a real hard problem with access. I think it's her back door.
yeah.
So they got a lot of problems to solve. They didn't like anything that I told them, and I haven't heard back from them. Have you heard anything, Renee?
Last we heard, he said residential homes, but he wanted me to sell him some property, but I told him no. I don't wanna sell my property.
They actually can access it without that. I don't know what that was about. It may have improved their access. But there's actually a street that's platted in there, goes down to, what's that street right there, just from your,
What, Second Street, or which one?
not Garfield. Jefferson, thank you.
Oh,
I'm getting old.
oh yeah, Jefferson.
But there's an access from Jefferson up that hill, but they gotta have a couple of ways in and out, and there's access on that other end. But it would probably be, and I told them we need to build private drive, but I wasn't really interested in a public street back there. So I've not heard back from them, and that's been probably the better part of a year ago. But then I noticed them grubbing it out, and I'm like, what's going on? So we need to watch that.
So those buildings next where within this red thing, where the torque converters are built at.
Yeah, that's that torque converter plant. And dog bowl plant. Over else, they're planning on building facility out at their land just off of City View Road, I believe. I told him we'd annex him as soon as he got done. I lied, we can't, but. Oh, I wouldn't aggravate Mr. Boney for any reason.
Okay, is there a motion under item 8?
Move that we authorize city manager to abandon the right-of-way stated in agenda item 8.
There's a motion and a second under item 8. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 9, discussion of possible action regarding the American Rescue Plan grant and pay adjustments.
Okay, the ARC money, the first thing that we talked about doing was taking the same amount of money that we lost in the C3 lease, which is $450,000 a year, plugging that back in. It has to go into a special fund, and using that to give raises that were missed, which was 3% last year overall for everybody. So that's the first thing that this would do. And then I'm looking at the market, and I've not made specific adjustments yet, but in general, first thing you also said you wanted to do was to increase the minimum pay that we paid to $15 an hour. And that would be the next thing we would do. And that impacts 5 or 6 people, I can't remember exactly which. Then looking at the market and what we're going through now with inflation, add a 10% on top of that October 1, effective October 1, for line employees and staff except for myself, James, and Carolyn. We would have 3%, but not the 10%. And then there's some market adjustments that I need to do, and I've made a fairly broad estimate. We can do them, everything that I think we're gonna have to do for $450,000 or less. Really, it's closer to about $440,000. That gives me a little contingency to work with, but I've got a promotion to make for community services and that deal. I've got a public works director that is yet to be leveled up since he had to take over that. He's permanent, but he's still pretty well running on the interim money. And to be competitive in a couple of key positions, I have to make some adjustments. And I can bring all that forward to you when we approve it to go to the grant, but that's where I'm at. And if you give me the nod tonight, we'll go ahead and get that prepped for the grant. Execution on the grant would be July meeting. Is that too late, or do we have to do something sooner? Okay, we'll have to look at that to see, but anyway. Before I go to the trouble of completely spreadsheeting it out, I wanted to give that to you, and then I'll lay out the reasoning and the market numbers that I've seen and so forth.
So we're getting $660 total in grant money?
Yes, sir. The balance between 450 and 660 here, and maybe a little more, will go to streets, and then the next 660 you're gonna get pretty quick. It's be the same amount of money. You'll get another check for that, and all that plus what's left from here will go to streets, plus what you've got budgeted for streets, which they're spending now. I mean, they haven't slowed down. They're still moving forward while we can. With the hot, does it ever get too hot to lay asphalt? That's an engineering question.
You want an honest answer?
I'm not talking about what it does to you. I'm talking about what it does to the pavement. Does the pavement hurt, Jacob? Okay, so they can still be out there under 10 foot. Can we put an umbrella on them or provide some air conditioning sometime? That's gotta be miserable. Hot pavement, hot sunshine.
Okay, so committee, have y'all looked at this? Did y'all see this?
This was discussed, and it sounds like, I don't think he left anything out.
I know what I mean.
One of the questions I think Renee brought up was, well, she can speak to it better than I can.
No, go for it.
Was making sure that, this is something that's within the budget for the out years.
Sustainable.
It's not just a one-time thing, and then, oh, no, we
Have to reel it all back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Interestingly enough, your other revenues made up the difference. And so the answer should be yes, but there's never any guarantees. The economy could turn around tomorrow, but if that occurs, you just gotta peel it back. The fact that we've got several $100 million fixing to come on the tax roll in the next few years, we ought to be in good shape, but it might be tight between now and then. You don't know, you never know everything, so. But we should be sustainable.
The 10% increase, that would also be able to come out of COVID funds?
All of it, every penny, for the first year.
You know where we're saying about the employer that this would probably affect. So when we came up about, we were basically raising the minimum wage to 15, so we had got several employers that were still under 15.
When we first talked about it, you probably had 7 or 8 at the most. A couple of them were pretty close, but now is it 5 or 6?
So on here it says 6 on this paper, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't see how we can stay competitive.
That's what I'm saying, I don't see how we.
And especially with everything, like that's just with everything going up, I mean, you look at the gas prices right now, you see the grocery store when you are checking out, property taxes, I mean, everything has gone up, and even raising some of our employees who make right now under 15, and it just seems like, I don't know how they are gonna continue to make it.
When I originally did this, I was worried about how it was gonna fit, because I was pretty committed to make sure it stayed within the 450. When I took my second look at it, my original intent was to raise the minimum to 15 effective October 1st. But I think it needs to be done now. And then I wasn't gonna get anything on top of that after, because some of the percentages are pretty significant for them. But the way it stands now with everybody and the way I don't know how to say it, equalize some of the numbers that are above them, the 10% works well for that, but then we can also add it to them. So my point is, there'll be 15 now, and then at October, we'll add 10% onto that for them as well as everybody else. And that puts them in a better position, it puts us in a much better position to compete.
So
for employees.
from 15, and then roughly get another $1.50 an hour.
Go to 16.50 an hour.
I mean, you look
Now,
around it.
there is some of this that, understand, each individual has their own anniversary date.
Yeah.
They have their hire date, they've got their probation date that's.
And all that still needs to.
Floating out there, all that's gotta, so it may not be universal. I mean, our latest hire, was last couple of weeks ago, is that right? Parks, a month ago,
About a month.
okay. So in 6 months, he'll be looking at an improvement or a percentage that may or may not be part of this. So I don't want to get them out of kilter from each other. So there's some steps we're going to have to take to kind of keep it like it ought to be. For about a year, it'll be a little more difficult to manage.
So were we already, I mean, that's what I'm curious about, wondering. I mean, without this ranch that we're dealing with now, where were we at in talking about even raising the employees we had to $15 an hour? We even considering that, or was that?
We were going to consider it, but we're just now writing the paper. I mean, I've asked her to look at an additional 3% for January to see how that works when we do the budget. But we may instead do a merit. You have a merit plan of sorts, and we may fund a merit in January if it'll fit. But if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But you can't run this place without people, and we've got a good team and a good crew, and I want to keep them.
So, back to my committee question, is this in line with what you all discussed?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the main thing was streets, and Kevin had mentioned the pay,
Yeah.
and, because, everybody wants that program to get done as soon as it can. But I mean, if this will fit in with it as well.
Working on Pierce now, is that correct?
Correct.
Over around 10th and 11th?
Yes, sir.
They had to put in a sewer line over there, and then they'll be working the street on top of that pretty quick. There will be some utilities as we move forward under some of these, so that we don't have to come back and do them again. And we will have some streets that we're gonna have to wait on because we gotta do utilities. Gotta work with engineers on that some. I've
Yeah.
said for as long as I can remember, the way you do this is you don't stop doing it. You just keep moving forward one way or another. If you ever stop, it's too easy to not start again.
Yeah.
That's what happened to you.
We'll finish up, and then by the time we finish up, we'll start again where we
The hard part is that
start over.
at the pace we have to go, you're probably gonna need to start over before you can start over, but that doesn't mean you stop. You keep doing your worst streets and moving forward, and eventually you'll catch up. But it'll take longer than I'll be on this earth to completely catch up.
And hopefully Walker Partners will be nice in their engineering fees.
Well, I do wanna brag on Jacob. He's done a great job for us, and you need to know he's got ties to this town. His grandparents lived here, and he is building a house over towards Crawford.
Well, that doesn't count.
Well,
You just blew that. Hell, I give him 2
I'm
demerits.
sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus.
True.
I might add that the fellow he replaced that retired from us lived in Austin, so it's nice to have him a lot closer. So we can beat him up closely. I did give him some trouble about that, but hey.
So see, you might drive on our streets more to understand. No. We need every
Yeah,
bang for a buck.
I've been around McGregor a pretty good while, so I'm well aware of everything that y'all are dealing with.
I just know other cities too. I know we're looking at 10%. I know some cities are doing 7%, some are doing 5%. It varies, but I think every.
This isn't catch up for us though, if we missed.
Well, I'm just thinking even if we don't, just remember all those other cities that are already making, they're gonna be given
We're just
that
further
amount
behind.
on top of it.
We have a parks employee on the bubble right now. It's ready to go
So-
for more money per hour. It's gonna happen, and if you don't do something, they're gonna start picking them off. I was somewhere the other day, and the restaurant we went to eat in posted minimum wage $16.50.
Probably Chick-fil-A.
They can sure do it. I don't remember where it was. I just remember seeing the sign going, okay, I better get catching up.
All right, well, good discussion. Is there a motion on 9? Just move to approve the,
Approve the plan.
approve the plan as set forth in the memo.
I move we approve the plan set forth in the memo.
All right, there's a motion second on item 9. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. That motion carries to item 10, receive financials. Ms. Carolyn.
Mayor, council, our financial summary this month is for April of 2022, which represents 53.33% of our year. Our general fund revenues are at 79% and expenses at 47%. Our utility fund was at 56% for revenue and 45% in expenses. Our exchange is at 75.5 for revenue and 78.3 for expenses. And the airport was 205,000 or 67.8%, and the expenses are at 64.3 for 21%. Our operating costs, as compared to last year, it has a difference of $3,800. Our debt service is down $198,600. Our capital projects are down $1,040,000, and our grants are up $660,000. Pool cash was up 2.2, so for a net of 1.66 million. Our net cash in bank is 1.67 more than the same period. Our general fund net cash flows is 179,000 higher than the previous year. Revenue is up 181,000, and expenditures are up 2,103 as compared to April. The revenue increase is mainly due to higher ad valorem taxes, 53.3 thousand, higher franchise fees of 47,000, and sale of assets of 92,000. Our utility fund net cash is down 93,200. Revenues are down 188,000, and expenses are down 95.2. Water revenue itself is down 238,000. Wastewater revenue is up 22,000. Garbage revenue is up 18,000, and penalty is up 6.6.
So hang on just a second.
Sure.
That water revenue, are we surprised that it's down that much? Yes?
I was, yes.
And so that would have been primarily for the month of May.
April to April.
April of,
This is comparing April of 2021 with April of 2022.
okay, so we may see a change
Sure.
in May, but still, that's a significant decrease.
Yeah, it probably has to do with weather and people watering versus not watering, if I had to guess, but we're watching it to see
Yeah.
where we go.
Over the next 2 weeks, you're gonna catch up.
Well, you would think so, but, you know, when you're comparing year to year, it's a big drop. Okay.
Personnel services are up 115,000, supplies are down 32, maintenance costs are down 7, other is down 4,300, contracted services are up 7,000, and debt service is up 20,000, capital outlay is down 194,000. The exchange net cash flows are down 80,000 as compared to last year. Revenues are down 41.9.
You're gonna have to put a little context on that, please.
Okay, and expenses are up 38.8. We've had more free community projects this year than we did by this time last year. And also when we went from if you had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday booked, it was 4,000 a weekend. Now you get all 3 days for 3,000, but we have less turnover cost.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem that it would account for $80,000.
Well, that's your net cash, but yes, a lot of it is, your expenses are up as well. So your revenues are down 41 and your expenses are up 38, so that's the net of 80. Your contracted services are up 20,000, your capital outlay is up 11,000, which was the stage. And we did get reimbursed, and that is in part of your revenue for that. And building maintenance is up 3,000. The municipal airport net cash flows are up 27,000. Revenues are down 11,100, and expenses are down 38,000. The revenues mainly down due to the sale of hangars in 2021, and the EEA payment of 12,900 last year by this time.
Back on the change.
Back on what, sir?
The change.
Okay.
What's it's creating for the building maintenance, like what kind of problem are they having with that?
With
The building maintenance is up.
oh, building maintenance?
Yeah, so what?
In lieu of me doing all the work myself, we've hired a contracted service to turn over the building in the middle of the night.
No, he's talking about building maintenance, Cass.
Yeah, which is $3,000, that's all.
Oh. It's everything from having
You
to
had to
fix
fi-
doors or to fix things that get broken at events,
The garbage.
having to deal with a lot of the trash that gets left in the courtyard.
The fencing, the fencing.
Oh, our dumpster fencing as well.
How is revenue down $42,000?
Well, so it just depends on how fast we book out. So I can tell you right now, we are booked for the exception of 2 weekends next year, which means I will not book another day from now until October 1 because I'm already booking fiscal year 2024 at last year's prices.
So is it an accounting issue? I mean, if you were to look,
And that's a possibility as well.
yeah, I was gonna say, because when, let's say, are we
Because-
putting the money on the books even though the event hasn't gone through for maybe
No.
6
Cor-
months?
Yes, as soon as you do the invoice, it's the same with water and utilities.
So,
As soon as you
even though
create
it's
the
not
invoice, it's
earned-
revenue. Doesn't mean you got the cash in. You've earned the revenue, but you haven't received the cash yet. So you've got to look at both pieces. So if she booked out, like she was saying, if she booked out like in April of last year for the rest of the year, or, you know, if she didn't book out until November, let me go that way, and she's already, I'm getting it backwards, aren't I? If you booked out already last year, but you haven't this year yet, then it's a timing, because she's had quite a bit in May. There was quite a few invoices, so you may see a lot of that change with the next month's report, because we had 10 or 12 that you brought in.
I did 9 tours and 8 rental contracts.
So,
And the big building alone. That doesn't include the small building.
So the use of it's not down,
Mm-mm.
and maybe it's just municipal accounting. Yeah, I just know in my office, if you haven't provided the service just because you got the money and you don't get to put it on your books yet.
yeah, no, we do. That's part of the enterprise accounting.
And then balance is not due until 30 days before your event. So
Right.
we work on a delayed schedule. So like we'll invoice, like I invoiced this last week for August 26th of 2023 because they put down their deposit. So they get mailed their deposit with a receipt, or deposit invoice with the receipt, and then they get mailed their invoice for the remainder of the payment that is due July 26th of 2023. But I have that through Christmas, well, through the 31st of next year, which means that's 3 months of deferred revenue for our fiscal year 2024.
So, for example, in 2022, are there any open dates left?
Thanksgiving and Christmas, which I'm not heartbroken we didn't book them because I would like to take the days off, but those are the only 2 days I have open. And actually, that's only because the wedding that was going to happen Thanksgiving weekend canceled last week.
Do we still think it's priced right?
I still get told we're underpriced.
Okay. I don't want to price this out of the market, but
Yeah, I had
I'm
to
sure
close,
y'all keep
I had to
that
close
in mind.
bookings for calendar year 2024.
you say again, I'm sorry?
I had to close bookings. We're not booking calendar year 2024 yet because we're getting phone calls to book those days already.
So you're just not taking them yet, though, right?
No, I won't take them until October 1 when y'all put a new fee schedule into place.
Okay. All right, that makes good sense.
And because of the way it works, that will also affect, because we were still booking ahead last year. We're not this year.
All right, you've alleviated my concern. Thanks.
Any more questions?
Let's see what else does.
Then our next slide is our sales tax. And as of April, we had received $816,771, which is still keeping us above what it was last year, which was our highest year, so by about $50,000.
Okay.
Any questions?
I don't think so. All looks okay.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, I don't know how much you can talk about this, if at all, in open session. It appears that only, even in the midst of a real difficult economy, it appears we're having a pretty good year financially. and I know that I and the rest of the community probably shares the concern about C3. Is there just nothing happening at C3 at the moment?
The facility, what's their name? In Bosses, they've extended, I believe. But beyond that,
So explain that again, so everybody.
there's a temporary renter in there
Yeah.
that's paying about, come on, come talk, your job.
So a quarter of the building's currently being rented by Bosses. Their factory is being delayed in the Waco Industrial Park off of Imperial. They're renting a quarter to kind of keep their people and do their admin stuff, do training. So they did an original lease for 4 months and then they extended through August. They're paying $13,000 a month for a quarter of the building.
Which is how much?
Well, it's 35 or 37.5 a month.
Okay, so we're getting about a third then. Yeah. Any action? I mean, because this is obviously
haven't
going to go
heard-
away through August.
I haven't heard from Glenn lately. He had somebody contact him, but I don't know that that's panned out yet.
If we could get that thing leased, we would sure enough be in pretty dang good shape.
Unfortunately, kind of the previous use for it being a call center, that's kind of what people see when they come inside. And the call center industry's pretty much been brutalized by COVID.
Yeah.
It hasn't come back like other industry
Yeah,
has.
I understand.
Glenn tells me it will, but
Yeah. It'll take longer than other recovery efforts have.
Yeah. Okay. Kevin, under item 11.
I have two things. The developer who is working on the north side of town for the larger lot subdivision, name is Haun, Haun. They have closed on that piece of property. It's 109 acres. They have 120 homes platted in there on a design palette so far. They'll be coming forward. They've done their traffic impact analysis. Doesn't look like they're going to be required to do anything. Probably have a four-way intersection that'll end up maybe in signalized later. We'll see about traffic counts on that.
Hooking up with 3047 there?
Yep. That'll probably be a four-way intersection. Well, it will be a four-way intersection as is designed, which is what you want it to be, which will probably have a stop sign, four-way stop interior thing, and then goes out to what is where North Main turns and goes out. So that's gonna help us a little bit. Eventually, that road will go all the way across and connect back over to City View somewhere. At least that's on your long-range plan. But it looks like that's moving forward. Phase 2 is.
Wait, hang on, make sure I got that right. I actually had someone ask me about this the other day. So that's 109 acres, 120 homes, so we're roughly a little under an acre a lot.
No, it's about half acre to three-quarters of an acre.
That's what I said, an acre per lot though, so it's under.
It's a little bit under, about three-quarters of an acre.
Okay.
Some of them half, some of them a little more than three-quarters of an acre.
Okay.
Some
And
cul-de-sacs
how
are
we
very
gonna,
nicely
how we
designed.
gonna provide them sewer out there?
Your engineer's gone, but he's the one that approved it. It's all there. They got it built to it, and it's.
So we're gonna attach into something that ends up pumping it all the way over here to the,
It goes to that big lift station you built over by the old sewer plant.
and then end up
It
running
goes
it all
over
the way
Elm Road
home?
Road.
Wow.
Uh,
We've got capacity for that, huh?
Barely. And your capacity limitation is on the gravity flow line that goes to the other lift station out here on the far corner before it goes over.
I know we've got water.
This facility is good, and it still allows you a little capacity, but not much.
Sewer wise, you're saying?
Yeah, you're not gonna be picking up much on the north side.
Yeah, yeah.
And very much water. Your water is just about at capacity there, but water does have a room. But you're gonna be making some fun decisions in the next year or so. Your sewer master plan is fixing to get wrapped up and brought forward to you, and you're gonna be learning some things about yourself you need to know. You're gonna be making decisions about sewering to Waco, or expanding that line and that lift station over there to get to your plant, and expanding your plant, or building another plant. You can't do anything on that side of the tracks, I'm sorry, on that side of 84 beyond this without doing something major. And you recall before my time, you had the annexation proposal out there. And then you found out you didn't have the capacities for it. Well, that's the first thing you gotta figure out. So there'll need to be another plant built over there. There'll probably be gravity flowing down, eventually down Harris Creek, all the way to Waco and participate in the plant with them. Or build your own plant and dump it in Harris Creek there. But you got a lot of sewer work you're fixing to be looking at. You're about done when it comes to wastewater capacities, except for the part that gravity flows into the plant. And as you recall, we were looking at an expansion of the plant anyway. But with what you've got going on out at the industrial park, you may be looking at more of an expansion out there. Even with them doing water reuse on one of the projects that's proposing down, it's just going to be, some interesting stuff. I'll just put it that way. The other thing I have to report is personal. My wife had a CT scan Friday, and we went to the doctor at 4 o'clock today, and she is cancer free. They're
That's
going to do a round of chemo, basically low dose chemo, for 6 months to help it not come back. But good news on our side. Oh, phase 2 of the parks is being drawn up now. You may have seen a sign out there on that. And they have somebody that I just found out today looking at buying 10 or 20 acres in the far northwest corner of that property, the property that was optioned. So it's farthest this from the property they have plus that option property. And talking about building a nursing home. And so they've got some issues to overcome in water and sewer. The engineers haven't seen it yet, so none of that's known, but they think that'll work. They haven't seen the numbers that they're gonna have to spend on utility, because sewer will be very significant from there, as water won't be as bad, but sewer will be pretty rough. So we'll see if they continue to pursue that, but not particularly bad use for that corridor out there. That's the third nursing home conversation I've had in the last year that doesn't include this nursing home. But a lot of feelers, no action.
Okay. Anything else, Kevin?
Still searching for a planner. That search may be going for a while.
Do they even exist out there?
They do. We have started trying to pilfer other organizations.
Yeah.
If Beverly Hills had a planner, I'd be going after them.
You'd probably get them too.
Did I say pilfer? I meant to say attract. We've made contacts in Waco, Temple, very much to my danger. If I was to steal one from Temple, I might be in a lot of trouble. We will be pursuing others.
Okay, let's stay after it. 12, council, your requests.
I know last month I had asked about reports.
Working on it.
Okay.
Everybody's started to sift in, try to find the numbers that are important. What you want to do is create a form. It doesn't take a lot of work. You just fill in the blank every month. It gives you an idea of what the traffic is in all the departments. I've got 4 in. PD's probably got a good template, but they're trying to figure out what works and what's easiest, and what's important. They measure everything, kind of like baseball. Police departments measure everything. Fires, I know, working on it, so that'll come.
And Kevin, I know you had asked me about putting together a workshop for parking. Kind of give me an idea of where we are on that and what do we need to.
We've had staff sit down, we need to have the city council and the P and Z committees meet. There may be some changes in that personnel that you want to consider, so. We've lost one.
Yeah.
I don't remember how that all worked out, but anyway, we just need to populate that. I think we've got a pretty straightforward approach. Paul brings here? Yeah, there he is, hiding back in the corner. Paul brings a very unique set of eyes to that, so it's pretty helpful. He has gone back and counted the ones that it's gonna be impacting on.
Good.
So we've got some good information to run forward with you and get some guidance. The thing is, there's well over 300 and some odd houses, driveways that don't even exist or not like
Yeah,
they're
they're in
supposed to be.
perpetual violation, aren't they?
Well, yeah, you can't go knock everybody down at once, so you gotta set a priority system. I'd like to actually build that priority system into the ordinance rather than it being staff generated or
Yeah.
just general guidelines.
Yeah.
So once we get your guidance, we'll go to Charlie and see how best we can construct that ordinance wise and then move forward. But things like if it's rental property, you can make them do it the next time they change out renters. And you don't always know that, so there's a lot of little things to catch to make it work when you do it. You can always say thou shalt go get it done, but that just creates havoc and a lot of dissension in your community, so we need to.
And a lot of work for your city prosecutor.
Yep. I don't know if he's up for it. I actually have a conversation I need to have with you, reference something very close to that. And it's not about your property, no, not that. We do, he's out of surgery. I saw him in the truck today, dog catcher. Right, he's back on the job.
Titanium knee put in, and they got the blood out of his eyes, so he's doing good.
So he doesn't look so bad now?
He didn't look scared.
He's back.
I helped him with 2 dogs. to make over there.
Well, we've also had a friend of puppies come forward and say they want to put together a group to help. And they've been contacted and they're, quote, not quite ready yet. Is that the way that was?
Yes, not quite ready.
So,
Rowdy
I'll just call
volunteered
Chad,
to
he'll
get
deal
him
with the big
killed.
dog.
James, always call James. If it's something nobody else wants to do, call James.
I have a quick update from the McLennan Rural
Oh, good.
Transit. So we met last week, I think it was last week, and they swore, three people were sworn in, including myself. New person from Marina, new person from Lacey Lakeview. It was a very brief meeting. I don't know if you've ever been in Judge Felton's meeting, but he's
He goes
very
pretty
quick.
quick.
And but afterwards, I did speak with the judge briefly. It was clear that he had recently had some type of briefings about bridges in McLennan County, because he was asking me questions about the bridge out there that's going on, being built, at Mother Nest State Park, even though I know that's not part of us, and I don't even know that, is that in McLennan County?
No, that's in,
I think it's
Coryell
in
County.
it's Coryell. But, I was talking about how it seemed to be pretty quick. They were moving right along and getting that bridge done. And he was like, I need to look into that, because I think there's quite a few bridges in this county that need some attention.
He has friends that lives out there beyond the bridge.
There you go. But,
He is actually the one that made sure the money got moved around and retasked to create the committee you're talking about.
Right.
That was a real, when he came in to office, he was very upset when he found out kind of how that had been structured over the years, and just made sure it got restructured.
It's pretty well organized. They've got it going in the right direction.
He's a businessman.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. meeting's adjourned at 8:05.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.